All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into Palantir.
Yeah.
And
Palantir.
they're this company that's, you know, they're all over the news because their growth has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And they seem to be, right at the center of this whole AI revolution that's happening.
Definitely.
I mean, their stock is up something like, what, 340%?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, in 2024 alone. And they just got added to the S&P 500 and
Yeah.
the NASDAQ 100.
What? So clearly, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
But the question is, how much of this is hype and how much of it is really, game-changing AI?
Right, because that's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
Is Palantir actually steering this AI revolution, or are they just riding the wave?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to try to figure out today.
Exactly.
So why don't we start with their latest earnings report?
Okay.
Because they just blew past all of Wall Street's expectations.
Oh, yeah, they crushed it.
Yeah. So for the fourth quarter, they reported adjusted earnings per share of 14 cents.
Wow.
And analysts were only expecting 11 cents.
That's a big beat.
Yeah. And then revenue came in at $828 million,
Huge.
which is way above the $776 million that was predicted.
Yeah, those are seriously impressive numbers.
Yeah. And, for anyone who might not, follow the stock market super closely,
Right.
Adjusted earnings per share is basically a way to measure a company's profitability.
Yeah, it kind of takes out the noise.
Yeah, it factors out any one-time costs, so you can get a clearer picture of how the company's core business is performing.
Exactly.
And when a company beats expectations like this, it's a really big deal.
It is.
It gets investors excited
For sure.
because it signals, strong performance and future growth potential.
Yeah. And in Palantir's case, I think it's really telling the market that they're not just surviving, they're actually thriving in this new AI landscape.
Yeah, and a lot of that success seems to be tied to their work with large language models.
Right, LLMs.
Yeah, LLMs.
And their CEO, Alex Karp, is very vocal about this.
Yeah.
He's really attributing their success to their focus on AI and specifically LLMs.
Yeah, I mean, he even said, quote, "Our business results continue to astound, demonstrating our deepening position at the center of the AI revolution."
Yeah, he's not shy about it.
No, he's not.
He really believes that Palantir is leading the charge here.
Yeah, so let's break that down a little bit.
Sure.
For people who, might not be familiar with this
Yeah.
technology, what are LLMs and how are they driving Palantir's success?
So LLMs, they stand for large language models, and they're basically a type of artificial intelligence that can understand and generate human-like text.
Okay.
So think of like chatbots,
Yeah.
that can hold a conversation or
Yeah.
software that can write different kinds of creative content.
Yeah, so we're seeing this kind of stuff popping up all over the place.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But what's interesting about Palantir is that they're not just building LLMs from scratch. They're actually incorporating them into their existing platforms.
Yeah, right, which are already being used by governments and businesses to analyze massive amounts of data.
Yeah, so they're taking this really powerful AI technology.
Yeah.
And they're weaving it into these tools that are already being used to solve complex problems.
Exactly. And I think that's a big part of why they're seeing so much success, because they're not just focusing on building the coolest new AI. They're actually thinking about how to apply it in a way that's really practical and useful.
So it's not just the technology itself, it's how they're using it.
Yeah, the application is key.
Okay, so now we're starting to get a better picture of, how Palantir is leveraging AI.
Right.
But, for a long time, they were mainly known for their work with defense agencies.
Yeah, they had a very strong foothold in government contracts.
Yeah, so are they still just focused on defense, or are they branching out into other sectors?
Oh, they're definitely branching out.
Okay.
Defense is still a big part of their business, of course.
Yeah.
But their commercial revenue is growing like crazy,
Really?
especially in the U.S. In fact, their U.S. commercial revenue jumped by 64% year over year,
Wow.
reaching $214 million.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and what's even more interesting is the types of industries that they're targeting now.
Oh,
It's
my.
not just, traditional tech companies. They're moving into healthcare,
Interesting.
finance, energy.
So they're really seeing a broad range of applications for their AI.
Yeah, they're basically positioning themselves as the go-to solution for any organization that's dealing with complex data problems.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into what Karp said about this being, just the beginning of an AI revolution.
Right.
He actually called it the first act of a massive AI-driven transformation
He did, yeah.
that's going to unfold over decades.
He's a pretty dramatic guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's also tapping into something real here.
Okay, so do you think there's actually something to this idea of an AI revolution?
I do. I mean, think about how the internet transformed our lives.
Right.
I think AI has that same potential, maybe even greater. We're already seeing AI being used in so many different ways,
Yeah.
and it's only going to become more powerful and more accessible in the years to come.
So it sounds like you're saying that this is not just hype. This is a real technological shift that's happening.
I think so.
Okay, so huge potential, but also potentially huge competition.
Right.
We can't talk about Palantir without talking about DeepSeek.
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
Yeah, this company based in China that's emerging as a serious rival.
And they're making a lot of people nervous.
Yeah, because it raises concerns about, an AI arms race.
Exactly. The fear is that the development and use of AI is going to become primarily driven by national interests.
Right.
Rather than global cooperation.
Yeah, so how serious of a threat is DeepSeek?
I mean, they're definitely one to watch.
Okay.
They're developing similar AI technologies to Palantir.
Right.
And they're also very aggressively pursuing government and commercial contracts.
Yeah, so they're not messing around.
No, they're not.
And Karp has actually responded to this challenge.
Yeah.
By calling for an all-country effort.
Right, an all-country effort.
To ensure responsible AI development.
Which sounds great in theory.
Yeah, but what does that actually look like?
Right. I mean,
Is it even realistic?
Is it actually feasible?
Yeah. I mean, in today's geopolitical climate.
Especially with the tension between the U.S. and China.
Yeah.
I mean, an all-country effort would require, international agreements on ethical guidelines for AI development and use.
Transparency in how these AI systems are built and deployed.
Exactly.
And mechanisms to prevent the misuse of AI for harmful purposes.
Right. And that's a tall order.
Yeah.
I mean, getting all the countries in the world to agree on something like that.
Yeah.
It's a huge challenge.
So, all right. So we've talked about the earnings. We've talked about LLMs. We've talked about competition from China.
Yeah.
With all of this in mind, what do you think Palantir's future holds?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah. I mean, their forecast for 2025 predicts that their U.S. commercial sales are going to grow by at least another 54%.
Yeah. They're expecting to reach about $1.08 billion in revenue.
Yeah. So do you think they're actually going to dominate the AI landscape?
It's tough to say for sure.
Okay.
They definitely have a lot going for them.
Yeah.
They have strong technology,
right,
a growing customer base, and a very charismatic leader with a grand vision.
Right.
But the AI field is incredibly dynamic. New players are emerging all the time.
Yeah.
The technology itself is evolving really rapidly. So it's hard to predict what the landscape is going to look like even a few years from now.
So I guess the bottom line for anyone listening is that, Palantir is riding high on this AI wave.
Right.
But this is just the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
The next few years are going to be really crucial.
They are.
In determining whether they can actually achieve their goals.
And what role they'll play in shaping the future of this technology.
Yeah. And for you listening, the real question is, how is this AI revolution going to impact your life and your industry?
Because it's coming, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. And it's something that we all need to be thinking about and paying attention to.
Absolutely.
So that's it for our deep dive into Palantir today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah. And to everyone listening, keep an eye on this company because they're definitely one to watch.
For sure.
All right. That's it for today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.